If you've been grinding Apex, you'll know that tactical abilities have a huge impact on the game. They all have their unique circumstances where the perfect uses can easily win you games and even end fights sometimes before they even start. Getting maximum effectiveness out of these abilities is key to becoming a top tier player. So hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8 Second Gaming, and in today's video I'm going to be diving into every character in Apex to give you one tip for each of their tacticals so you can start using them more effectively and become that dominant force in the game. After watching this video, you won't just know how to use your main or mains better, you'll also know how other players will be using their abilities so that you can better counter them. Apex is just as much knowing your character as it is knowing all the others, so don't skip anything because you'll want to hear all of these. But now let's dive in and start with Bloodhound, and that's going to be don't waste your scans. Now I get it, having that free wall hack is nice. I'm a Bloodhound main, I know how you feel. But one thing that always helps me win more fights is not wasting my scans when I know where the enemy team is already. If I'm able to give accurate callouts to my team and not need to scan, then I don't use it because I'd rather have it for later. I want to save it until I lose sight of them, then I know that I'll have it in order to help me out again. The Hound is about gathering information for your team, so make sure you aren't wasting it when you already have all the info you need. Going forward to Gibby, and his bubble is one of the best tacticals in the game, and the best tip for Gibby is to use it. And I know that that's the biggest, well, yeah, no duh, type of tips, but I'm serious. I constantly see Gibby mains in scrims and in ranked think that they can out-movement someone's bullet and they get punished for it. Be 100% sure you won't go down by just using the bubble. You can always play around not having it later. But if you die and your team can't get to you, then you just lost a huge support player and are now in a really bad spot. If you start to get shot or are making a risky rotation, just use the bubble and make sure you can get there alive. Next up with Lifeline, you always want to throw your dock drone on teammates that you are combat rezzing. This will either help them heal when they first get up, allowing them to focus on shields and be back in the fight really quickly, or give them a burst of health to get to a new spot if they are being pushed. I don't see enough lifelines do this, and it's a very key part to making sure your teammates don't go down right after you res them, giving them and yourself better odds at winning the fight. Just quickly though, if you guys are enjoying the video so far and want to show some support for the channel and help us grow, don't forget to drop a thumbs up on the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe yourself and ring that bell to be notified when we post new videos. But with that covered, let's get back to things with Pathfinder, and his grapple breaks if you're looking 90 degrees away from it, meaning you can actually pull off some nice ankle breaking maneuvers. The one I'm showing here has helped me surprise enemies on a floor above me or make some serious escapes on less mobile characters. The way you pull this off is grapple the top of an entranceway or sign or whatever similar. As you start swinging, look down so you don't get pulled straight to your grapple. Once you start to swing past where you grappled to, 180 your camera to look behind you and that's it. Now for Wraith, the best tip is to start popping your Q earlier. I see a lot of people get upset about the time it takes for her phase to go off, and that's mainly because you use it too late. You're trying to ego a fight and get punished for it. Stop doing that. As soon as your shields get broken, you should be looking to phase out to safety. Let your teammates help you. You don't have to be the hero all the time. It isn't worth dying for and potentially throwing the fight. You are better off staying up and healing. Okay, now for Bangalore. This one's going to be stop focusing your smokes on your team. I know a lot of Bangalores have it in their head the smoke cover helps your team not get shot, and yeah, it kinda does. But that also means your team can't see if someone is walking up on them. Start focusing your smokes on the enemy team. Try picking out whoever has a good head glitch or line of sight. This will force them out of that position and give your team a better chance against them in fights. And for Caustic, don't get him twisted. He is a really strong defensive legend and can hold areas down with ease. But he's also amazing at being offensive on buildings and sieging teams holding spots. Use your barrels to cut off doorways and choke points, forcing the team inside into tiny areas to easily be naded out or just slowly choked out by gas. His gas can apply so much pressure on teams, and the only counter to Caustic is another Caustic, so if they don't have one, they're basically free kills. Just don't rush things, be safe and play things right. Next up, Mirage, and for him you'll want to start using his tactical to check for rats or teams skeeving on you. If you're rotating or going into a spot and you have a funny feeling about it, just send a decoy in first. Teams are trigger happy and will spray at anything that moves. This will then out them and make it so you can posture up on them or just rotate out and not take that fight. Running into blind spots is a bad idea if you don't have to. If you have a bad feeling about certain areas, then don't do it. use what you have to be safe. And for Mirage, that's his decoys. Now for Octane Stim, you have to stop being afraid to use it in fights. Yes, it does take health off, and that seems scary to some people, but the speed boost you get makes your strafing insanely hard to track. And if you're throwing in some crouch spams into the mix, it's almost impossible to track 100% of the time. Most players I see worry about the fact that they are losing health, and yes, losing health in fights is bad, but the trade-off of becoming almost untouchable is worth it and something a lot more Octane maids need to start looking at doing. Now for Wattson, she just had her heirloom introduced into the game and her play rate is going up, so you are seeing more and more of her running around. If you take a building from another Wattson team, don't destroy all of her fence nodes, because you can actually attach your own to an enemy Wattson's fences, making it so that you don't have to waste extra nodes and allows you to hold a lot more in a building. This is one of those things people don't realize because no one looks to do it. You just shoot the nodes when taking a house and leave it at that, but now you'll start looking to be more careful. For Crypto and his drone, you are very vulnerable when on it, and if you're rotating and can't take the time to stop and check banners to see if anyone's near you, it can be frustrating. Well, here's a nice tip: if you're sliding down a hill, you can actually get onto your drone and keep your slide momentum going, allowing you to check banners while not being stationary. Once you get good at this, you can get in and out of your drone very quickly and not lose any time for your team. With Rev and his silence balls, you don't actually have to use them offensively all the time. They are big and hard to see through. So if a team is shooting at you and you need to break LOS, just throw some right in front of you. This will make you harder to see and therefore harder to shoot. And it also makes you harder to push, since they would have to run through them, silencing them and making them easy targets. Breaking LOS is extremely underrated in Apex, and people only think characters like Bangalore can do it, and that isn't always the case. Moving on to Loba, her bracelet can actually fit through windows, so if you're trying to push a building, you can teleport through a window to get the jump on someone. This can be extremely risky though, because of the animation you do once you land. So if you are going to do this, make sure they can't see you, or your team is also creating pressure to help you out. You don't want to be an easy target as soon as you land, because that can lose you and your team the fight. Moving on to Rampart, her mobile cover can block grenade damage even if you've just put it down. So if you're in a tight spot and being naded out, don't tank the damage, throw a wall down and block all the incoming damage from that grenade. I've never actually seen a Rampart intentionally do this, and it's something that can really help in certain fights and add a layer of defensiveness to her kit that no one expects. For Horizon, if you are fighting someone who's behind cover, you can actually throw your tactical at them. With the right placement, it'll lift them into the air, giving you and your team free shots on them. This is really good when you're trying to single someone out who's split from their team or they have a nice head glitch on you. No one expects this, and it can really throw people off, making them panic. And remember, a panicking player is a dead player. With Fuse and his knuckle clusters like Revenant, they don't always have to be offensive. If you're pushing a team who has an escape route, instead of throwing your cluster right at them, throw it on their escape route, so they are either forced to tank the damage or fight you. Corralling teams like this can lead to rush choices and miscommunication between the enemies. Miscommunication between the enemies leads to panicking, and say with me everyone, a panicking player is a dead player. Now myself and a lot of people really like Valk's missile swarm, but they have to travel a certain distance every time. So if you are stuck behind cover and have someone pushing you, look down and fire them. They will still go in front of you, catching that person hopefully in the open and giving you a chance to kill them. This can be very clutch in some cases and can lead to you winning some fights you shouldn't be able to. And for the last two, I'm going to talk about Seer and Ash together because they're basically the same idea. With their tacticals, there is a delay or travel time on them, so you need to stop throwing them where the enemy team is and start throwing it to where they're going to be. If the person you are fighting is running away, then there's no point sending it directly at them. Look for a pattern and try to anticipate their movement. Even if you do miss them, you've cut off a spot for them to go briefly and can give you some free shots. This kind of stuff has given me a ton of free kills. This will take a little bit more practice to get used to, and you will miss occasionally, so don't get frustrated and just work through it. But that's gonna be all for today's video, guys. I really hope you learned something new, and if you did, please once again drop a like on the video. It really does help us and the channel out. And if you haven't yet, please go ahead and smash that sub button and ring the bell to be notified when we post new videos. We do daily, highly educational Apex Legends content you don't want to miss out on. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming, and I will see you in the next one.